What's up, guys? This is your SoCal fishing forecast for Thursday, April 22nd. Quick look at the weather. We got this early springtime conditions going on right now. A lot of eddy conditions going on, a little bit of morning showers, overcast, that south wind, tearing things up, keeping things bumpy. But let's take a quick look at the wind model here for the next couple days. As I mentioned, we got that outside wind going on, and it's creating a lot of eddy conditions earlier this week, and really tearing things up on the water, not allowing a lot of guys to get out. But Friday's looking all right. Probably going to be some residual bump left on the surface after that, and Saturday we also have a larger south swell coming in, a long period, 17, 18 seconds here, so surfers might be looking at that instead of going fishing based on the wind here. But that's what we got. I want to point out that this wind pattern changes dramatically a lot. Coming south and working north. And we also are going to be having that strong south swell. It's long period, like I said before. But you can have swell going one way and wind chop going the other. It's probably going to turn into a washing machine. So if you're thinking about heading out, keep that in mind. I mean, you can see how dramatic this wind model is changing from day to day. So this isn't really locked in stone here, but it could get interesting. You might have a chance to go fishing. You might not, but I'll just throw that out there. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'm looking at a marine forecast. I mean, it doesn't look too scary based on what we're seeing here. It's still showing, 10 to 15 knots. Mixed swell 3 to 4 feet. That's probably gonna be a little bothersome on Saturday, with that wind ramping up, and then that south swell 3 to 4 feet, long period though. So not too worried about that. But just more of the direction of the two going against each other. So it could get a little worse than what you're expecting. Could be not as bad. So it's gonna be one of those game time decision things if you're thinking about heading out on the water. But for the most part, even based on this model, Saturday, those inner waters don't look too bad if you're thinking about staying inshore. So let's get into the fishing. Looking at the charts here, Chloro 3-day. As you can tell, the water's starting to clean up a little bit here. Got a little bit of a green pocket happening over here off the 178. And down south, we got a little current action happening here, pushing that green water back out. And of course, both of these charts coincide with the sea surface temperature chart for 3 days. And read into this chart a little bit. Although this does say 66 degrees is that dark red, this wind today probably took that down a little bit. The buoy readings I didn't quite see 66 on them, but either way, we are still in a warming trend here, which is really good news. And it's still early here, so it looks like we're getting out of that La Nina condition, at least locally, and the water temps are finally making a turn here. So hopefully this eddy condition will help us out just a little bit, and we'll get into that. There has been a little bit of that red tide between Long Beach and Newport Beach. Seems to be really isolated. I mean, not a whole lot. So if you see it and you're fishing inshore, move a mile down. It'll probably change your whole day. But like I said, it didn't look too concerning at the moment. As far as Catalina goes, there has been a couple sea bass picked up the last few days. And this is by no means wide open fishing. This is kind of on the hush right now. So I'll give you what I think is fair information. Obviously not numbers or exact spots or anything like that. And there's a lot of guys that put their time in for this type of stuff. So, but here's what I will tell you. There is squid on the front side at Arrow Point and inside the Isthmus. Kinley Marie was there last week selling squid. Hail at them on Channel 11. I don't know if they're still there. I haven't heard if they're still there. But if you're thinking about buying squid or looking for squid, that's a good chance where you're going to find it. If you're looking to make squid, that's where I'd be heading. Now, as far as the fishing goes, 2 weeks ago, all we're seeing is a couple of little schoolie white sea bass. I did see a nice photo of about 50-pounder picked up over the weekend, and that was right before sunlight. So typical white sea bass fishing. And the areas of where you're going to want to target these is where you're going to find the squid. So the typical squid beds, and as far as that goes, you're gonna have to put some time in the dark, maybe dragging a light around to locate that squid. And if you're making squid, make sure you have a dropper loop set up in the water, and be fishing for the same time that you're making squid. More than likely, that's when you get your best chance at getting a bite. And when you fish a dropper loop for squid on the squid beds, make sure that you do a high dropper loop. And what I mean by that is have your tagline for your hook a good 6 feet above your weight. That allows your bait to get a little bit separated from the bed itself, so predators will be more attracted to bite your hook than bite what is down on the squid bed. But the Salta Verde, Palisades area, the typical squid beds, that's the places I would be looking. And also on the east end of the island is pretty well known for some squid action and sea bass fishing. So you have to put a little homework in there yourself. There's no gimmies when it comes to sea bass fishing. You definitely need to earn it. San Clemente Island. No one is really fishing the island at the moment. The wind has been nasty on the outside, so people really haven't been looking around at the west end at all. I was there a couple weeks ago. We were able to make some squid in the caves in Pyramid Cove. There's a chance you can maybe find a yellowtail or a sea bass there as well. But again, it's there's not lights out. We are way early here, and I wouldn't count on even catching one. But I'm just saying, if I was going to head there, that's where I would be looking. Moving further south, Coronados. The fishing here for yellows has gone away from the yo-yo fishing, sonar only, to occasional seeing them up top, mixed in with the bait up high. So back to more surface to iron and the usual bait fishing up top, but it's not really happening really that well. A couple days they'll get 25, 30. Next day maybe one or two, if that. So definitely bring rock fishing gear and also your fly line setup, and probably yo-yo if you're going to fish the islands. Like I said, it's been really hit and miss at the islands. As far as where the fish have been, it changes every day. But last weekend they were at the ribbon kelp and on the northeast side, or the weather side of the South Island. So, like I said, it changes every day. You need to monitor that current and the conditions to really choose where you're going to look for them. But it hasn't necessarily been a morning thing. They've kind of been showing up in the afternoon. So, once again, fly line and yo-yo. Keep your eyes open. Watch those bird schools. Typical early season Coronado yellowtail fishing. So, don't count on a lot, but it is spotty. Now, going down south, the bluefin action. That's kind of piqued some people's interest here. This is not really private boater territory at the moment. I don't encourage you to even try this because, well, one, you're talking about an 80-mile run plus, which, hey, if your boat has that kind of range, good for you. Awesome. But it's going to be a pretty rough ride going home and a slow ride uphill 80 miles back with that wind swell. So if you're on a yacht, hey, go for it. But in a private boater situation, I would probably avoid this for now. You're better off and safer off hopping on a sport boat. You're going to need to be looking at a 1.5-day trip or longer to reach these fish. But basically, they've been below the 238 and just west of the lower 500 down here. And I'll show you the chloro chart just so you can kind of see why they're hanging out. But yeah, we've got some of this action going on down here as well. So hopefully these fish will start pushing up here in the next month or so. But as of right now, we'll see what happens. As far as what they're biting, man, it's changed every day. No school is the same. There's a pretty good large block of fish down here. So, you got 30 pounders mixed in with 200 pounders. So you don't really know what you're going to be getting. But I would tell you, I would definitely bring a large setup. Don't get stuck with just a small setup. A little 30 size reel is not going to get it done. You're going to want to have at least a 50-pound setup for daytime fishing. And I would recommend a sinker rig, anywhere from 10 to 16 ounces of weight. It just kind of depends on how bad the current is. And a minimum of 50-pound fluorocarbon for that. And if you're fishing bait, at least a 2 or 3 aught hook. So if you get into a 60-pounder, you're not going to lose it. You can try smaller hooks if you want to, but again, if that little 50-pound tuna bite turns into a 200-pound bite, you can have a real wake-up call. Also, jig action, vertical jigs, something silver looking and flashy, seems to be working lately. It could be a cold snapper, could be a butterfly jig, could be a knife jig. That's the type of thing that's been working. Also, the night bite has also been working really well. Typical tuna action, if you're not familiar with fishing for tuna and offshore fishing, but usually the slack tide is when these fish really start to perk up. And what happens is the bait kind of puddles up together towards the top of the surface, and that really drives the fish to the top of the surface in that top portion of the water column. So that's what you're going to be looking for, and those are the conditions that you're going to be looking at. So if you're going on a trip, I would highly encourage you to look at a tide chart and look at when the slack tides are. And I don't care what time of night it is, make sure you're on deck at least an hour before slack tide, maybe 2 hours before slack tide. And, at least put it in hours worth of work. I mean, if they show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. But you're spending good money to go fishing. You need to fish when the fish want to eat. So that's all we got for this week, guys. Be safe out there on the water, and always make sure you have yourself a really good time. That's what it's all about. So take care. Cheers. We'll see you next week. If you like what you saw today, you can subscribe to our channel or follow us along on Instagram and Facebook. And always remember, share the stoke.